Hello, hello. Welcome back to That's Dope, the podcast where we talk about dope things. My name is Godswill. We got Josh, and we got a special guest, Caitlin Glass. She is one of my favorite ADR directors, voice actresses, friends from the old company. And I've been wanting to talk with you for a minute, but I was like, maybe I shouldn't talk to people from the old company, I guess, you know. But but I don't know. I thought there would be like some sort of problem. But I was like, let me talk to someone like who I've been wanting to talk with for like a long time, like just to be like, okay, is this cool? If not, maybe I can just talk to you about like other things. But I guess so far it's cool. So yeah, we got Caitlin Glass.
I mean, I'm just me. So what do I know? We'll find out.
Yeah, I mean, a ton. So, I mean, like one of your most famous roles, you were Winry from Fullmetal Alchemist. You have directed a ton of shows like that I have really adored, and like I think like one of my favorite things that like I definitely want to get into is like I really love like how you are like one of the true like people like starting up the like diversity, like you've been doing it, like you like one of the people that like started getting Hispanic actors in Garo, and then like started up like with new actors and actresses, and like really like expanded the cast. And I've always loved it. I always wanted to tell you that. I feel like I have told you that, but at the same time I definitely want to say it on camera. So
thank you.
Yeah. And then also I've always appreciated just like hanging out and talking like after the fact, leaving a company. I thought like I'd be, I don't need more friends. And then you were definitely like one of the people that has always been cool to me throughout.
Well, of course. Why wouldn't I? I was so sad when you left. I was like, where's Joshville?
I appreciate
it's above my pay grade, not in my department whatsoever. But I'm glad that we can all like play nice. I think everybody was like, no hard feelings. We still love you as a guy, and it's great that we can still interact. You're still in this anime, manga, Japanese culture in America world with us, and that's awesome.
I'm glad for it. I'm so happy to be in this world still. So I guess getting things started, like how is it being in this weird world of anime, cartoons, voice acting, all that? Like, I mean, how, and especially like I guess being a director now, how is it?
It's really strange. Sometimes I can't believe that this is my life, when it was just something that I did maybe like, I don't want to say on a whim. I never thought that it would be a career path. When I ended up at Funimation on a tour, like everybody kind of knows the story now. It's becoming some sort of weird legend of how I started being a voice actor. But I really did get the job on a tour.
Wow.
I never thought that I would still be doing it almost 20 years later. There was not even, and even when I kept at it at the time, I still didn't think it would become what it has become, not just for me, but for fans, for the Western audiences in general. So it's really a trip.
I'm sorry. Can I pause you real quick? What was the legend? Because I don't know. I remember you from Winry, of course. Like the voice is it's there still. But I had no idea about the rest of it.
I'm so glad. I still sound like her.
Oh, absolutely. You're killing it. I hope there's more that we can see. But yeah, we'll talk about all that. But talk about the legend, honestly. Yeah.
Okay. When I say I feel like people know it, lately when I've done podcasts and interviews, it always comes around to this, and then it gets reposted. So anyway, but so I was just a theater student. I had one semester left and of college, and Nathaniel Harrison, who's now like the head of all the sound department, Godswill knows Nathaniel. He was just my buddy from church, and he's like, hey, you like anime, I work at this anime place, do you want a tour? I'm like, heck yeah, I do. And he brought me on a tour one day, and he even said before going in, he's like, I don't know how to get you a job, I'm just an engineer. I'm like, it's fine, I like anime, I want to see what you do, this will be great. And so he took me around the building, and it was really neat to be like, oh, they're mixing Dragon Ball in there, and they're doing this over here. And he took me inside one of the studios there, and they weren't recording at the time. And the director was Eric Vale, whom we all know and love. And they were working on Yu Yu Hakusho in that room, but not recording. He was just there. And I have learned since I've become a director that like people coming in with tours and showing their friends and family the company is like not uncommon. So Eric like barely paid attention to the fact that we were there. And so he's just kind of like, yeah, who are you? What do you do? Like reading something, doing his job. When I mentioned that I was an actor and a theater student, he perks up. He flips through whatever he's looking at. He's like, hey, get in the booth right now. And I'm like, wow. Okay. I got in there because I thought it was part of the tour. Like no one's recording, so why don't you get in the booth and see what a booth is? And he's like, put these headphones on. I'm like, okay. So I do. And he explains the process, how dubbing works, and I'm looking at a script, I'm looking at the video. He's like, see this line on page whatever, you're going to hear these beeps, and after the beeps, you say that line. I'm like, all right. So I did that once or twice, and they recorded it. I think they even kept it. I didn't get paid for that, Funimation. And maybe they didn't
time
keep it.
with interest.
Maybe they didn't keep it. But when I came out of the booth, he's like, that's great. You sound great. Give your number to Tara down the hall and you can work here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just straight up like that.
And
wow.
I was like, what? I'm not sure that I heard you right. And I was a good actor and I had learned in school to come prepared. So I'm like, do you want my headshot? Do you want my resume? I have those things. They're in the car. He's like, we really don't need that. Just your phone number is fine. And I'm
wow.
like, okay.
What you?
And he wasn't kidding. That was a Thursday, and I was back over the weekend on Sunday, being directed by none other than Christopher Sabat himself, on the first episode of Case Closed, where I just did some bits and pieces. And that was in January of 2004. And by the summer of that year, I had my first lead in the show called Spiral. And by the fall of that year, I was Winry Rockbell. And the rest is history.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's dope. I actually didn't know the full legend. That's amazing.
The timeline, yeah. It's weird. It's like pinch myself bizarre that's my story. Yeah.
So what you're saying is like if someone didn't have the skills you had, they can go in there with like some Windex, start cleaning some tables, and maybe someone be like, hey, you can work here as a janitor. Possibly. You just gotta show what you can do.
Yeah, maybe so. But I always say that there's like this line in the industry that it's about who you know. Like that's true. If I hadn't known Nathaniel, I wouldn't have, been able to get that tour. But it's because I was training. It's because it was the word actor that made Eric's ears perk up, and the fact that I was in school and studying, not just like a wannabe person, but someone who this was going to be my profession. And so you can have someone to help you get your foot in the door, but you're going to need the talent, you're going to need the dedication and the skills to keep you in the building. And Christopher Bevins, who used to direct for Funimation, has now gone off to do things in Los Angeles. He always would joke and say that Caitlin came on a tour and she just never left. Like, we can't get her to leave.
I like it, though. It's like, it's what they always say. It's luck meets preparation.
Yeah,
succeed.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty cool. It's like you're not just some random person who's like, well, you sound nice. Get in here.
Yeah.
Like you're going through the steps already.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Especially because, seriously, the line that I said, and I remember it, is, ugly creep, how about I mace you? That's not a line that is going to, like, someone's amazing acting skills or beautiful voice is really going to sell a director on, like, hey, that person is great and should work here more frequently. I guarantee you it's because I said I am a senior theater student. Here are some things that I've done, etc. And then, he very succinctly said, listen to this, say this, and go. And we work that fast. Like, as a director, I know that when someone green comes in, I need to be able to explain to them, just like Eric told me, hear these beeps, say this line, go, and get it just that quickly. So I was able to do that. And then I grew from there. I mean, I didn't get Winry overnight. It took a number of months, but I don't know.
I mean, hey, you're killing it now. I mean, like, that's so dope. And then, like, you went from being a voice actress to being a director, and then like how did that transition happen? And then also, I guess, like, how is it being a director these days?
So by the next year in 2005, I had graduated from college, and I was looking for ways to use my degree more. Like, I was desperate or I don't want to say desperate. I was determined to only do jobs that my degree supported. Not that there's anything wrong against waiting tables if you needed to, or like teaching if you needed to, but I just wanted to try my hardest to
be stable. Why not, right?
Yeah, just do acting stuff, and then directing is kind of ancillary to that because we learn about it in school. And I always say that the hardest thing about graduating from college, especially when you're in an arts program, is the sudden lack of community. Like, I went to college for 5 years with a lot of the same people. You spend all day with them. You spend all night with them because you're in rehearsal, and then you spend all night with them like at bars and parties after that. So, you know,
hey.
And then, I mean, seriously, we had a green room. We had a common area. So even if you weren't in your theater classes, in between your math and your English and your philosophy and everything else, you'd come back to that green room, meet with people, dine with them, go off to your classes. After school, I would be like at Anthony Bowling's house, Sean Gann's apartment, watching Dragon Ball, and then going back to school for rehearsal. And it isn't that they weren't still my friends once I graduated, but the 24/7 aspect of the grind of college was gone, and therefore all of those people were gone too. So I was also looking for that community again, and I felt the draw of that whenever I would be at Funimation working. But that was only when I was working. So I'm like, how can I be in this building more? And not with some Windex, right?
I'll just clean the windows, right? As long as you talk to me.
Hey guys, we were in that bank building. There were a lot of windows.
I never even seen that building.
You never did? I thought maybe
no.
They just
I always hear about it. Yeah,
a field trip or something. Next time you're in Dallas, we're gonna go on a field trip.
I'm gonna take you up on that for sure. Yes.
So I just thought about it, like, what is my skill set? What are other things that I know how to do? And I went back to Nathaniel and said, maybe can I direct or something? Do they need people like that? He's like, I don't know, ask Justin, which is Justin Cook. And I didn't really know Justin all that well, so I was a little bit intimidated. But I ended up in his office and just kind of asked, hey, so directing, is that a thing maybe I could do? I'm kind of interested. And he's kind of looked at me and went, yeah, you could do it. Just like that. I swear. That was it. He's like, yeah, okay.
Wow.
Now, he didn't give me a job immediately, but he felt that I would be up to the task. And he said, here's what you need to do. You need to just train with the other directors. Just come on your free time. They are contracts, so it's not like the company was paying me to learn or that those directors were paying me to learn. I just had to do it. And so that's what I did. I sat in and I learned everybody's styles. And little by little, as folks would be gone to conventions or they were sick or just needed a break, they would have me come in and direct for them. So by the end of 2005, I got my first contract from the company, which is to work on Case Closed, which is kind of a full circle. Since
that's dope.
That's how I started as an actor, and that's how I started as a director as well. And I don't know, 4 or 8 episodes. And after that, it was on to doing some like one-piece contracts and helping out with other shows here and there. It wasn't until 2007 or 8 that I had my own show for the first time, and that was Suzuka, which is a fun little rom-com sports anime. And the next big one after that, of all things, is Ouran High School Host Club.
Wow. So, that is a legendary one.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
that's crazy. No.
You go ahead. No, God's will had asked how's directing now, and I feel like I could go into that, but if anything I said sparked other questions, let's do that. We can talk about the current state of directing in a bit.
I thought it was amazing that, I mean, I want to give credit to Justin even, because like he let you facilitate, like he allowed you to be like, you know what? Yeah. Because there's a lot of gatekeeping, as you know, when it comes to people in company work, like, oh, you can't do that. Like, you know, what I do over here is, he could have easily just shut that down and like, there's no possibility. But like the fact that he was just like, that was fantastic. Going to put you in a fantastic position to be where you're at now, and now you're killing it all over the place. So
thank you.
I remember a really quick little side story where before I did social media, I was doing sales constantly, and I hated sales. I don't like selling people things. Like, it was a thing I could do. Like, talking to people is not a problem for me, but I hate selling things. Like, forcing me, like, at the end of the day, I gotta be like, hey, so are you buying this? And you know they don't want it and they don't need it, and you're just like, yo, please.
Please. Yeah. Please buy this so that I can eat.
Survive, right?
I'm saying it's a pretty stressful job. And I remember I was working for like this Twitch, it was like a company on Twitch. I was working with them, and I remember I asked, because our social media person left, and I was like, I asked the guy above me, and I was like, hey man, is there a possibility like I could like get into the social media thing? Because there's no college for social media. This is something you have to learn, right? So I was like, he's like,
and it's always changing too.
Constantly.
Yeah, exactly. God's knows he's been in way longer than me at this point. So it's like, it was one of those things where he was just like, I don't think so. There's so much that goes on. And he just kind of shut me down. So I was just stuck in sales. And I was like, okay. So I just kept doing my job. And then I prepared for it, though. Kind of like what you were talking about earlier. I looked up, and again, there's no school. So what you do is you just go to YouTube and you look up what GQ does for social media. You look up what Funimation does for social media. You're just kind of trying to figure it out, take notes, whatever. And then I got an opportunity through somebody else, luckily anime industry stuff, and it worked out. But it's but it wouldn't have happened if I got again, preparation meets luck, really. But it's one of those things where it's like if I had someone like Justin, that would have been such an easier door to open than getting shut down. I almost just threw my notes away. I had them on the computer still. God still knows I sent them to him, but I was gonna delete them because I was like, I'll be doing sales for the rest of my life. But
no, here you are. Yeah. We're so glad.
Honestly, yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad that things worked out the way they did. I mean, just like what Josh is saying, it's like even sometimes I'm like, do I want to like share like what I'm doing or like tell people like how to get in? I guess especially like the more busy that like I'm getting. But also that's the same thing that like I really dig about you, Caitlin. Like I have seen you like be open door and be like more open to bringing people on, and I mean I guess like working with people in this sort of high paced world. Honestly, like that's also why I had to ask you is like how is it today, because I can only imagine.
It's
and honestly,
yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Caitlin.
Okay, yeah, you got it. Floor is yours, Caitlin.
Well, we started doing the simul-dub thing in like 2015, which is when I became a salaried, like on staff director for Funimation.
Hey.
And I hadn't been directing like that full 10 years, 2005 to 2015. I directed for about 5 years, and then I got married. I left the country. I had other stuff that I did. I came back. And in 2015,
wow, you live life.
Yeah, in 2015, I think it's 14, 15. I don't remember. They're like, hey, do you want to? They were actually approaching me to just do a contract of something, and from the perspective of, hey, we want to do like kind of celebrity director sort of things. Like you're well known and people know you from Ouran, and we could say like, look at the show we've got. It's being directed by Caitlin Glass. You know her. And so that was the plan. I don't even know what the show was. And then the next time I went back to solidify that, they're like, would you like a job? And I'm like, I thought that's what I was here for. They're like, no, do you want to be a salary director and benefits and the 401k and all of that stuff? And I'm like, yes, please, thank you. Please and thank you. Yeah, especially, I made sure that I was still allowed to act and be paid for my acting. In addition to that, they're like, yes. I'm like, okay, let's do it. And when it started out, it was just one show per season at a time, the way we'd been doing things for as long as I'd known. And then they're like, hey, we're going to start up this thing called simul-dub. Like one other director had done it before me, Joel McDonald. And then I was in kind of the second wave of it. And so Zach Bolton, who's one of our producers, who had also been a director and was maybe still directing some at that time, actually. Well, I know because he directed a show with me. He's like, we're going to try it on this show and we're going to share it. So I'll do an episode 1 week and then it's your turn. And we were putting them out. The show was Absolute Duo, and I don't think they were coming out like the same week as the Japanese, but it was in the same season as them. So maybe within a month of the Japanese airing, the English would come out. And we did that, and then it became the norm. And I don't know how long it lasted with just doing one show at a time, but then they determined, hey, we could probably do 2. So every director works on 2 shows every 3 months. And then when a season ends, we get another 2 new shows, or, perhaps one of the shows continues because sometimes there's like a 2-core situation. So yeah, there have definitely been bumps along the road. and that there are pros and cons to working this way versus the old way, which is more in batches. Like the show is complete and you're working on a handful of episodes at a time. The obvious benefits of the old way is that the show is complete. So you know the end from the beginning. You know everything that's going to happen. And it's probably 50-50 nowadays with the anime stories. Some come from a manga and you can read it and find out where it's going, and others are original. But some come from a manga and it's not in English. So you really don't know, and you have to just trust random fan wikis online or read what I hate, like scanlations and illegal translations of manga to learn the story. So that part of simul-dubbing sucks. But the positives are we do so much more work now. There's more work for everybody, more work for actors. Is there more work for us? Yes, but I don't know. I guess I've gotten used to it. It feels like less of a grind and more just like a workflow. There are times when it can be more difficult than others, because any show could be more difficult than another for any number of reasons. It could have a really large cast. It could have difficult language. It could, who the heck knows? Tons of reasons. And other times you get shows that are a breeze. You know, it's a chill slice of life romance with 5 people in it. You know, so it's really easy to balance that with your other crazy show that's going on over here. What else is weird about it? We still, as directors, are in charge of our series from simul-dub through to home video. So that means that, like, while I'm working on 2 shows right now, a show from 2 seasons ago could come back and I need to prepare it for home video as well. So that means rewatching it, because in Japan, they'll reanimate some things. They'll fix some scenes, because they all work remarkably fast too, just to get stuff ready to go on television in Japan. So they'll be like, this scene's ugly, we're gonna, fix it, or the mouth flaps didn't match the Japanese performance, and so they'll change that, which means then we have to change it. And the sound might be different for various reasons. There's all kinds of things. So maybe we're going to dub the songs and we couldn't do them for broadcast, but we're going to do them for home video. So it gets hairy when you're working on 2 present shows, and 1 or 2 of your old shows could come back at the same time. And at the end of the season, you're also looking towards the coming season. So you're dipping your toe into that research. But thankfully, we've learned how to have assistant directors, how to have people there to back you up. And provided you have that person that you can trust, production is really good about giving the directors time they need to do that other stuff. So if I'm like, hey, I need time to go do these home video reviews, they'll be like, cool, call in your assistant, and that person will come and direct for me for a day or 2 days while I do something else, like no questions asked. So there's a lot of support in that regard. There's still a long way to go, but it's not so bad.
I always thought that would seem difficult, the simulcast thing. So I'm just like, so Japan and America are getting it at the same time. I was like, do you guys get it after Japan, which means you have to make your fixes and things like real quick?
Yeah, it's not ideal. I think when people hear simul-dub, they imagine that we are getting materials in advance of Japanese broadcast, and that is very rare, actually. I think, and again, above my pay grade, so I don't know all of the intricate details, but there are some shows where it's worked out in the agreement with the licensor that, yes, we'll have the stuff before Japan. Probably the bigger name titles, I imagine, like your My Hero Academias, your Attack on Titans, things like that, where they really are trying to combat piracy. So we'll get stuff in advance so that our things can come out what's called day and date, same day as Japan. Then obviously we've had materials before, but most of the time comes out in Japan. For example, a show I'm doing this season is called Shoot Goal to the Future. Episode 9, I think, just aired in Japanese yesterday. And I will get a script for that on Wednesday of this coming week and start working on Thursday, and then I'll turn it in the following Wednesday. So a lot of the time, we've received some materials of it because our company also, translates and does the subtitles. So if I'm paying attention and like looking around on the network, which I don't always have time to do, I could maybe find the episode 3 or 4 days before it goes up in Japanese. but I don't speak Japanese, so unless that translation document is there too, it doesn't do me a whole lot of good, except to scan it for characters that I don't know and see who I might need to be casting if it is an original show and I don't know where the story is going. So
Can I ask one more question? I don't know if guys wants to jump in.
Please
No, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, please.
So,
I mean, also, I'm just having a good time, like, hearing about this whole process.
Jibber jabbing, like, I never know when I get boring, so please.
Oh, no. This is cool. Yeah. Like, this is great. Like, I mean, like, at first I was like, oh, you know, maybe you get this question all the time, but you're killing it. So I'm having a great time just listening to, like, what this process is like.
No, I was going to ask, so as far as the anime industry, you've been in it for a while. I think you said you got in it when I was in 7th grade. I think.
Wow, cool.
That's insane to me. Yeah, I was like, you've been doing this. Yeah, because Fullmetal Alchemist, that's 2004. She said,
2004.
So
OG
I was a freshman in high school, 2006. I was a baby. But no, I love this because I would always want to ask. I asked one of our marketers, not marketer, she's a brand manager at our job, and it was one of those things I just wondered. I was like, hey, like, you've been in here so long, or you've been doing it for so long. Do you ever just get tired? Do you feel like your enthusiasm for anime has slowed down even a little bit? Or are you kind of just like, yo, I love this stuff. It comes, I'm into it. Or are you more like, you know what? Maybe I watch some real TV and watch some Better Call Saul or something. You know what I mean? Like,
that's an excellent question. It's funny because I feel like I got into anime to be a hobby when I was in college because the other things that I was passionate about were consuming my life. So I was passionate about Jesus. I'm passionate about theater. So I was going to school and then I was doing ministry stuff at church like all the time. Those were the two things I did. And I recognized the burnout and the need for an escape to something. And I remembered I was just getting into anime in high school. I had a friend in theater who really loved Sailor Moon at the time of the original Toonami in the afternoon. And that's how she introduced me to it. So then I would go, like, my mom would record it for me if I had rehearsal and we'd watch together.
Wow.
But then when I got to college, I didn't have time for TV hardly. I mentioned that I would go watch Dragon Ball with the guys like before rehearsal, but even that wasn't until like my last couple years of college. So anyway, the idea of anime as a hobby is it was there and then it disappeared. So in my later years in college and when I need something else to escape to, and I'm like, oh yeah, anime. I was getting into that anime thing. Let's do that again. So I started watching with friends. I found a Blockbuster video by my house, and they had tons and tons of stuff from ADV, because this was ADV's heyday. And they'd put out so much on home video. So I would rent whatever I could get my hands on. But then very shortly after anime became my hobby, it then became my job. So it wasn't as all-encompassing originally. It was also so new and wonderful, like I said, to be working in my field of study. I was just over the moon about it. I think now I'm not less passionate. I love the stories that we get to tell because anime is so different than any other medium. What I miss out on is the opportunity to enjoy the work that we've done and enjoy the work of my colleagues and to celebrate it all. I have major FOMO, especially during this big convention season when whatever the big show is that they're working on, if it's not your show, you're not the director, you're not the actor in it, and you just see like San Diego Comic-Con, Anime Expo, CRX, but like huge con after huge con after huge con, and you're like not there in the thick of it. Instead, you're in your little studio, just you and your engineer, making whatever the heck anime you're working on right now, wondering if anybody's even watching it. That's kind of if there's a downside, nobody who really wants to work in anime would say there's any downside at all. But for me, that is that's the low point. That is when it can start to feel like a grind, because you just feel like you're working on something and is anybody even watching it? And I think that people are. I remind myself that folks we interact with on the internet are really the vocal minority. There are a lot more people who take in what we do that don't really care about tweeting about it or commenting on anything. And usually I'll get to meet those folks at conventions, which is why it is great to get to go to them. Even if you're not there to celebrate whatever the big thing of the summer is, you're just in, Toledo in November or something. Somebody
not
likes
Toledo.
what you worked on.
Holy Toledo. That's cool.
No,
Yeah, I
mean,
actually was interested if you guys like use social media or like even have time to go on social media and like. I mean, although I see you guys like constantly like like showing off like what titles you guys are on, but I guess it's sort of hard to see like what people like or don't like unless you're really in the weeds of it, right?
Yeah, and to be honest, I've muted a lot of folks on my Twitter because it's
For the
become
best.
such a huge. It's just and it's not even muting fans. It's honestly muting colleagues and up and coming actors, just because I can't stay unbiased that way.
That makes sense.
And so I'll go whole periods of time where I don't even bother looking because I just don't have time for it, and it's such a place of self-congratulation. And I understand being excited for every thing that you're cast in and wanting to shout it from the rooftop. But it's just hard for me to reconcile all of that information that I could be taking in and my job too. Not too many years ago, you kind of what's that being paid in exposure, that saying, being paid in exposure. Yeah, I think our actors are compensated, and that's great, but I also know that what they want is exposure. They want something that they can say that has like digital worth, that they can read, that came from the company or that came from their director or something like that then they can repost on their Instagram, Twitter, Facebook extravaganza, whatever. So I used to be very particular about every show. I'm going to do announcements for every episode so that each new actor has something that they can say, look, the director put this out, not just me. But I think anymore, the actors are way better at making those announcements than I am.
I've been seeing. I feel like they stepped it up, honestly.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know how to use whatever program you are using to make this amazing thing. Why don't you just make it and then I'll retweet it?
There we go.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah.
But I was doing stuff like trying to come up with contests, like, hey, guess the actor for this new character that you're going to see next week, or putting together fun Q&As. I did that for, I think, Oscar Lost in Space. And it was fun. And that was also something that I was doing at the time because I was feeling drained at my job. And I felt like I wasn't as creative as I wanted to be. So that was another outlet for me to do something that I could do and also feel like I was giving back to the cast with some little exposure for them.
That's dope.
I think I've been really bad about it lately. So I remember like 3 days after the episode went up, hey guys, please watch.
No, it sounds like you're focused on other things, huh? Are you in any other plays right now, or like I guess like focused on things outside of the anime world?
I wish I was in some plays right now. I'm not. I'm not in.
Seems like it's stressful right now.
Yeah.
Womp womp.
It always sounds hard to be like in like an actual play just being an actual play or something. That just sounds like a tough thing.
It's been maybe 4 years since I've done a play that requires rehearsal like 6 nights a week. That the last one I did was Hamlet. I did Othello and Hamlet back to back in 2018 and 2019. So that was a good 3 or 4 months, I think, of 6 night a week rehearsals. It's crazy.
How many hours a day would you say?
I would work all day and then go to rehearsal every night for 4 hours, and then weekend rehearsals were like 6 or 7 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's full time.
Yeah, it was good though. Like, it was fulfilling for me because I love Shakespeare. So I'm really grateful that there are a couple Shakespeare companies here in Dallas that do a different type of Shakespeare. So the company is called Shakespeare in the Bar and Shakespeare Everywhere, and it is like minimal rehearsal. We rehearse 2 times usually, maybe 3 max. You only perform twice, and I love it because it puts all the onus on you, the actor, to do your text work, to show up, and also just to make decisions. There is no director. There's like somebody who's kind of in charge to make sure everybody knows what time to be there and, hey, bring your costumes and etc. But it's on you to do it, to show up, and it's extremely collaborative and really fun. So I have time for that kind of theater because, like I said, we rehearse 2 or 3 times a week, and we perform twice. But
you know what you're doing.
It's just as fulfilling as the 3-week run, 5 shows a week, whatever thing. Yeah, it's really cool. So I haven't done one since November of last year. So I'm itching to do one again.
Dope. Okay.
I got two things I came up with.
Bring it.
While you were talking, because I'm just, as you're talking, you're giving me so many things to siphon off of.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of things I want to talk about
questions
too.
Out all over the place. So one, this background I'm looking at, I meant to ask you, this is the first thing I saw.
Yes.
When you came on. All the Disney and everything else, I'm seeing some anime, but I'm seeing a lot of Disney stuff.
Yeah.
What is that all about? Like, that's just been a thing for you forever, or?
Yeah, I love Disney, and a lot of people do. My husband and I guess if there's something I do that isn't anime, we're Disney people. So we do live in Texas, but I find myself in LA often for work. So we have season passes, and we'll go out to the parks 4 or 5 or more times a year. So
I still need to go.
We have like this. Godzilla, you haven't been? Oh my gosh!
I know.
You gotta go.
I was like, what's wrong with me?
Yeah, we have quite a collection. I could grab some of these Mickey Mouses. I'm a big fan of It's a Small World, so this is It's a Small World style Mickey Mouse. Isn't he cute? This is so cute. Anyway, y'all don't want to see it. Don't get me started on all my plushies. I'll go on forever. But there's a Shin-chan over there. Can you see Shin?
Yeah, I saw Shin-chan.
Yeah, there's Shin. But yeah, most of these are Mickeys and a Rilakkuma hanging out.
Wait,
that's really cool.
Oh, okay. I didn't even see that one. Okay. Yeah. So, really is your husband also into anime, or is he more like Western Disney, or what is it?
No, he likes anime. He doesn't actively watch it. I think because he knows it's my job. So you had said like at the end of the day, do I want to watch regular TV? Yes. Because and working in anime has almost ruined anime for me in that it's very hard for me to watch dubs in particular because I can't turn off my director. Yeah, I can't turn off my director brain, and I don't like that. Like I don't like being so critical,
judgmental
of someone
in a way,
else's work that I can't enjoy the story anymore. So yeah.
Dang,
but yeah,
that's a level.
My husband and I, when we were first dating, like we watched anime together. It was fun. But now he'll watch things that I've worked on. If I'm really excited about them and want him to see a couple episodes of it, he'll watch it. He'll go to the theater if I have a movie or something going on in the theater. He'll go to see it. But yeah,
when did you meet him initially?
We went to the same college, but not at the same time. So after my freshman year, he graduated from college when I graduated from high school. And after my freshman year of college, I auditioned for a play outside of school. And so did he. And he was cast as my brother. And I didn't have a car.
That sounds romantic.
Yeah. I didn't have a car. And he drove me to rehearsal and home. And that's when we started dating in the year 2000.
Wow.
Wait.
Yeah.
Okay. You were a freshman in college. Never mind. This is works. I was like, hold on. Hold on.
Yeah.
But no, freshman in college. This works out. This checks out.
All good. It's all good.
No, that's fantastic. That's sick. Oh man.
I wanted to ask about, I guess, religion and spirituality. Like, you said you just got back from church, and I guess it's sort of rare, I guess, to see anybody sort of speak about like their religion, faith these days, and I guess like, how has that been for you? I guess, especially like over like this past decade. I guess for me, I think like things have been changing like heavily like over like this past decade. And I guess I'm always interested in other people's spiritual journeys too.
Yeah. Well, I've been a Christian my whole life, and it's never been hard for me to speak what I believe. And I feel that God has never steered me wrong, and I wouldn't be where I am in life in this industry without him. So I'm never shy about it. I've never tried to hide it. I've never thought, oh, if they know I'm a Christian, they won't cast me, nor have I felt discriminated against in any way. So it's interesting to me when I hear that people are saying particular Christian actors are being discriminated against in the anime industry in particular because they are Christian. And I call BS on that. Because why just that person and not me, or not Johnny Young Bosch, or a lot of the other Christians in the industry? And that's also probably a reason that I felt so comfortable with being myself and being open with my faith, is because very early on I met other Christians here, and I feel comfortable and safe and so very respected by my non-Christian friends and colleagues. And I think that's the way it's supposed to be. People often say, like, yo, you're a Christian, go be a missionary. If you want to preach, go to Africa or go, to South America or something. But I believe a mission field is anywhere that we are. We're called to be a light in dark places. And so God gave me this gift to act, and I'm going to use it, and I'll go be a light wherever I am. So yeah, I hope that I don't try to get preachy, but if on any given day, like I'm just really feeling a certain something or scripture is speaking to me, I'll tweet it, I'll post it on my Instagram because maybe somebody else needs it. I think it's important. It's really important. There's a verse in the Bible that says, I am not ashamed of the gospel of Jesus Christ, for it is the power of God unto salvation for all who believe. So that's me. And if you don't like it, peace out. Yeah.
No, what you're saying about discrimination in the industry, I would agree. Even though I've only been in the industry for like a year, maybe a little bit less than that. It's like it's one of those things where I don't see it, and I don't see anybody being very critical of each other in the industry. That being said, the fans towards Christian actors, I would be a lot more likely to be like, I see where they're coming from, because I have seen them come down on people for being Christian a lot harder, for just saying things like a Christian person. For instance, who's the guy who plays Star-Lord in
Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt?
Yeah, he's been being drugged through the mud for just...
Yeah, like I've had my issues like with people getting onto Chris Pratt for being a part of a church, and I was just sort of like, I feel like this is really, it was disappointing to see like people like coming down on him for just being part of like a certain church, even though apparently like he's not even a part of that church.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone was saying that like he was part of Hillsong, part of a church that like against like LGBT.
Problematic. Yeah.
And then they're saying that like he is that, and I was like, I don't think that's fair,
right?
Unless he said that like that's what he did.
It's very difficult.
What do you? Yeah, go ahead.
This is people making drama.
Yeah, that's true.
It's very difficult for people to make that difference, right? Because especially people who had never been in religion, specifically the people who were even jumped out early. It's very hard for them to make a difference in your religion and who you are as a person, because they think that they're conflated, like they're the same thing. They're like, well, Christians hate LGBT, right? That's it. So it's like
who gave you that? Who told you that? Like, there's so many different denominations and groups in one church that could be right next to another church on the street and believe different things doctrinally, but still like believe in Christ. And is it a mess? Yeah. Is it confusing? Yeah. Do we need to figure that out? Heck yes, we do. But within like just being an actor, I think that my greatest critic is myself, and also the fear of what other Christians are going to think about what I'm doing. And I had to learn how to get over that very early on. Because not every story that is going to be told is some redeeming story, but I think that there can be light and hope found in all of them. And I'm not just going to play the heroes. I'm going to play villains too. I'm going to play awful people too, but I'm pretending I am an actor. It's not real. If you don't like it, you don't have to watch it. So I'm grateful that people at my church are super supportive. I don't know that they really watch what I'm doing, but they are just so glad. Like I said, be a light in a dark place. Grow where you're planted, and they're just glad that I'm there. So they don't really care what I'm up to. They're just happy that I'm there.
It sounds ideal, honestly. Yeah, to be supportive about like what you're doing. Yeah, I like that.
If there's ever like content issues or something, we don't end up in a show not knowing what's going to happen in it. Usually, I mean, stuff can happen in simul-dubs that we're like, whoa, didn't know this was happening. But most of the time, you know what kind of show it is. So if I feel like I don't know that I should be a part of that, just don't audition. And nobody writes it down like so-and-so didn't audition because she is Christian. Like, that's not. And if they are doing that, go away, or I'll have a talk with them. Like, everyone's really respectful that I've ever worked with in almost 20 years that I've been dubbing anime. Like, nobody's mad if I don't want to be in the booby show. It's fine.
That is wild. Another thing about it, like just saying it out loud is strange to me. How cool the industry itself is. With sometimes the fans can get a little out of hands. Like it's very gatekeeping. It's very like you didn't do what I thought was right. It's a lot of that. I mean, surprisingly, with your fans specifically, they seem very like I didn't know you for this interview or this chat we're having. And but I do social media for biz, and I see you there, and like they'll be like, "Oh my God, she's my favorite!" Like everyone is very positive. Like, I haven't had to delete a comment about.
Oh, we all loved you when you came in, and then also like every time like you're on our screens is like good times. Because we gotta get you in for more. We gotta get you in for more.
God's knows it. Like sometimes we'll post somebody on there, and I'm like, "Oh, God's like, hey, you gotta get on that post." I'm like, "Oh, Jesus!"
I know, right?
He's like, things and whatever. Yeah, but like with you, it's just like, "Oh man, I met her at this convention. She's so cool." Whatever, all the time. So I like it's so cool that you're not jaded because a lot of us get there.
Yeah,
a lot of us get there.
I think that's also like a big fear for me, especially for you. You know, it's like I think you're doing some great stuff. And sorry, it's like
she just came from church.
I know what's wrong with me. I know.
I've already censored myself like 5 times.
Oh man, well, yeah, we can curse on this. So I'm just sort of like especially as we just talked about. I know, right? Forgive me, Lord, right?
He's not surprised when I do it.
I know.
He's not surprised. So
God knows.
No big deal.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, like it's good. I'm trying to remember like what I was just about to say, but no, I'm glad to hear that also because I think I had my own conceptions too. I guess like, and I think like just in general, I think like I'm starting to like put myself more out there. Just be like, here's my spiritual journey, like with what I'm doing, but. I guess especially like these days, like when I see so many people that like are hurt by religion and like now it's like sort of cool to be against organized religion. And I guess it bumps me out, but I'm always honestly excited to like always talk with people about like their own spiritual journeys, especially like these days. Like, you know, like I'm happy that like we are becoming like more multicultural and we're encountering different groups and we're trying to figure out, but I guess especially like in Texas too, like where it's just sort of it feels like it's almost like a war at times, I guess, with religion.
It's a big culture war here for sure.
It's a bummer.
There's a lot more ideas floating around. So
which is good. Don't get me wrong, ideas are wonderful, but I guess it's just sort of a bummer, especially like when like it's who you are and you're trying like for example that Chris Pratt thing like really bummed me out, I guess, like where it's like, oh, this guy's going to church, he didn't say anything, and it's just this conception about like this is who he is because he goes to church or whatever. You know, maybe I'm misconstruing that myself, but it's good to hear your perspective on it.
Yeah, it's easy for people to become disillusioned with either their own faith or even just a faith in general that they used to think was just fine, that it was existing over there. But the louder the screw ups are, the harder it is for the devoted people to really point folks to Christ. We have to work even harder to show them that, like, yes, that person messed up because they are human. But God is bigger and God is better, and God will forgive that person and deal with them in time. But let me show you the goodness of Christ if I can. But it's hard. It's hard when really loud and well-known folks fall like that. There's a lot.
Interesting.
It's heartbreaking, truly.
I wouldn't even say it's interesting. It's a very well thought out way of speaking about this because, regardless of the religion, it's one of those things where it is people, and I feel like that's like the underlying thing, right? Yes. Because it's a thing where it's overlapping. You're a person first, and then there's also your religion, right? Or what you believe, your beliefs. And a lot of times when people make a mistake or something like that happens, they blame the religion. It's like something they want to go against actively. It's a bias. It's a confirmation bias, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, that person's Muslim, this person's Christian. Like, look what they're doing. But I'm like, you understand that the common denominator is actually the fact that people make these mistakes, right?
Exactly. Like, it's you can't, especially because no one
judge the whole thing based off of the individuals.
And no one is born with their faith. Though, like, ethnically, you may be born into a faith. That's true. But I wasn't born Christian. I was born a human. I was born Caitlin, and I came to Christ. And while I believe that He changed me, it's still an active step-by-step thing. just like the day you decided to become a social media guy, you didn't just decide that and then suddenly all social media knowledge was imparted on you and you're this guru who can just do anything. That's not how it works. That would have been great. We need to, in the Matrix, that's a real thing.
Next, right? Yeah, exactly. The next updates. Come on now.
Yeah, but it's funny how we all recognize that with other aspects of our life, whether it's a career path we're going to follow or a new hobby. You could, just suddenly say, okay, I'm a chef. Even though you just started cooking yesterday, you can still claim, I'm a chef. It's the same thing with claiming, okay, I'm Christian, I'm Muslim, I'm Jewish now, whatever. You're not the end all be all representation of that thing. It's a practice. It's something that you're following. So there's definitely a disconnect, and screens don't help at all when we're not seeing people, even not seeing them in person, not hearing their words in the full context that they're coming from. It's a big old mess, y'all.
Oh yeah,
y'all need
Jesus. Saying.
Yeah, right. I like this mindset a ton. It's like it's full of mercy, honestly, and I think it's understanding that like other groups and people, we have our problems, but the best thing to do is just do your best, right? Like showing off the love that you have, right?
Yeah.
I love that.
There's a verse that I try to live by. I've even written it on a Post-it, and it's in my studio. It is Micah 6:8, in case anyone cares.
Micah, oh wow.
Yeah, but the brunt of it is, what is it that God expects of us? And it is to act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly before your God. And like I look at that every day and try to embody that in the work that I do, because that's what I want people to feel when they step into my studio, when they step into my booth, that they are loved, that it is a safe space. That I'm going to treat them fairly, regardless of who they are, what color they are, their sexual orientation or gender identity, or any of that. Can they come in here and be an actor and use their God-given talents? That's what I'm interested in. Come in and be you, and let's do this thing.
I love that. I honestly, I feel that. Like it's, like when I first started like doing tours, I always loved going to your booth. For sure, because it's like it's always easy to talk with you. You always gave us like such great answers, and there's always something fun to like see. So I definitely feel it from you. I definitely feel it.
Thank you.
I did want to ask, Garo. Like I remember you speak Spanish, right? And you were able to do like a really cool job on Garo because also you speak Spanish too. How'd you learn Spanish? Like you said, you lived abroad, right?
I lived in Spain. Mm-hmm. So I grew up in Southern California.
Garo from One Punch?
No, Garo. No, different. That's a character. There's a show called Garo.
The animation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Garo the animation, and it has like different shows in the franchise.
So I grew up in San Diego, California. So Spanish is around me all the time, and I started studying it in high school. I'm not really fluent anymore, but living in Spain, I was fluent enough to completely get around for a year and a half. And I can still understand a ton more than I ever speak it anymore. I don't have as much occasion to speak it. But we've just been back for like 3 or 4 years when they gave me that show, and it's set in like a fictional Inquisition era Spain. So a lot of the names and place names are in Spanish, and I'm like, these need to be pronounced correctly. And while the main cast were not, Spaniards, except Monica Rial, who is, I just wanted to bring in as much multiculturalness to the show as possible. And then that really just kind of ignited something in me from then on to really seek diversity for diversity's sake before it was popular to do so, before it was the thing that everybody was doing.
The mandate.
The reason was because I would go to conventions and I would look around and I'd be like, this is so great being here because this is the best mixture of people I've ever seen. There are pockets of our country that are quite homogenous, and so I'll still go to conventions sometimes and it's just like white people. But most of the time at cons, it is such an amazing multicultural mix. And I'm like, how come dubs just sound like a bunch of white people when all of these English speakers are watching them? So that's when I'm like, we should do something about that. And it's, you can't just throw people into a dub for the sake of diversity. I still am seeking talent, but representation really matters. And I've seen how it has ignited the fan base, how it has ignited aspiring voice actors who never thought it was something they could do because they didn't think there was a place for them in it until they see, a Black person in the lead or a Mexican person in the lead. It's a passion of mine.
I love it. And like it's like you live how you walk. I definitely have appreciated it. It's like it like because I remember like when like they started talking about like diversity, but then I was like, well, I know someone who's been doing it. Like legit. It's like. I mean, I definitely appreciate that. Like the company was like, "Oh yeah, we should start doing this," but I was like, "Well, there's someone who's already like putting people like in leads," and I definitely have always appreciated that. Like that was something that really just like I endeared me to you like more in the beginning. I was just like, wow, no one told you, at least as far as I know, no one told you to do this, and you're just straight up doing it. And then like I remember like going to like the Garo that watch party.
The movie,
the Garo watch party. Yeah. Oh man, that was a good time.
That was really fun. Yeah, by the time we did that movie, I was even more on board with that concept because the first show just kind of scratched the surface for me, and that was in like 2015, and then I guess it was 2017 or 18 is when the movie came around. So Josh, this show Garo, I got to give you background because I really want to go
Thank you.
it. Yeah. So it's based off what's called a tokusatsu show, which is kind of like grown-up Power Rangers. The best way I can put it, like primetime live action show, but where somebody will transform. Yeah, kind of like a Kamen Rider sort of thing, but it's like mystical, magical. And there's this golden knight called Garo, and in each iteration of the show, there's a new golden knight, and it could take place in a different city, a different time period, whatever. So for the 10-year anniversary of this franchise, they said, let's animate it. And so they got a then fledgling company called Mappa. Now we all freaking know who Mappa is. Back then, Mappa was still fairly new. Granted, it's people from other animation companies that left those to start Mappa, but still, it's one of their earlier things. And they did Garo, the animation set in a fictional Inquisition era Spain, and it's just really badass with like amazing, cool suits of armor transformations, and it's a bit monster of the week, but the monsters are like something out of Guillermo del Toro's nightmares. Like it's really dark and cool. And Crunchyroll, I think it's moved over to Crunchyroll. It might be on Funimation still because I think not everything has merged. But anyway, so that in and of itself made it cool enough. And then a year or two later, they're like, let's do another one and call it Garo Crimson Moon. Same idea, it's Golden Knight, but now I said like before, different time, different place. It's set in the Heian era Japan. I'm like, okay, all right. But they took the same cast of actors and mixed them all up. So it's all the same voice actors, but in different roles. So the guy who was the Golden Knight, the hero before, he's now the Silver Knight in the second show, and he's like the anti-hero. Not the villain, but just kind of, is he good, is he bad, we don't know. And then the guy who used to be like the dad in the first series is now like the villain or something like that in the middle one. And then there's a brand new super uber villain. A couple of years after that, we did another one called Garo Vanishing Line, the newer one, and it's set in modern day America. And the guy who is the villain from the middle show is now the hero in that one. And you get to hear all of the voice actors' journeys and see what different types of roles they play from show to show. It was a blast. It was so fun. And there's a movie. So somewhere in there, they made a movie that's in the timeline of the first Garo show. And by then I had done some other shows where I was, seeking representation in casting and all of that. So when I cast this one, I purposely went for Hispanic actors. So like Cristina Valenzuela plays like the female kind of ingenue role for the movie, and then a local actor named Omar Padilla, who's from Mexico City. He plays the lead. And all of the walla, which is the background, like just people talking, the background is 100% in Spanish. It was really fun. Really fun. So it's not the same as like dubbing into Spanish. I would never want to be in charge of that because it's not my first language, and I don't think that's
full time, right?
Yeah, but it's cool to get to be authentic and bringing it into a show that way. So
and I
please
think
go watch Garo. It's one of my favorite things.
Sounds dope. I might do it today, honestly.
I enjoyed it. Yeah.
But it's it's interesting because like God's was saying with the diversity thing, where it's being forced. A lot of times it is the situation. Anyone who I feel like I'd
rather have it be forced personally than not, but at the same time, there's something when better some than none, right? But I appreciate, I definitely love like how it was organic from you.
Thank you.
And that was the thing. It's like I feel like a lot of times people are, especially with Black people in America, there is like a trauma there where it's like they feel like people don't really want them in certain spaces anyway, and that's just standard, right?
That's so
it's
sad.
Like it happens. It's also like if you've lived long enough, like me and God's 30 now, so it's like we're not old by any means, but it's like we've been around long enough to just be like, this is just how life is, right? And this isn't to be like a sad story. This is just one of those things where you realize like
your
certain things that
perspective is completely different from mine. Like I wouldn't know that if you didn't say that. So yeah.
And that's why we do this podcast. I love hearing other people's perspectives on these things too. And Gazo spoke only high stuff of you. He told me about the diversity thing before you even got on the cast. I was like, oh, that's cool. That sounds dope. Because no one told you to. No, you didn't have to. But I mean, getting to the point was, I feel like it's one of those things where we understand that the way me and Gazo talk in private or with our friends doesn't fly in certain situations because our cultural, the things that are normal to us and our families doesn't work in the business world. The business world is modeled after a specific person. And they're not going to be okay with us speaking a certain way. They're like, well, why can't you speak like, you know what I mean? Like, you'll get this job if you, and this isn't something they'll say, but it's something that goes through everybody's head. Like, he speaks like he might be from Detroit. We can't just have this guy over here just work in the office. He's a little uncouth. You know what I mean?
Man.
I like how you said all that.
There's no other way to explain it. It's just like, this is just how we were raised. This is how it is. And like people are going to be like, why don't you just try to change? But it's like, what you're doing is you're telling us to change into what you are. And I don't think it's like, it's very hard to put that into perspective to people. So, I mean, even us currently with our company, there's people who are, they believe that we're, treating Black, content creators a little differently. And again, that's just trauma. It's just a trauma response. Like they feel like this has been happening to them, and they might have heard something from somebody, and now it's like a whole, thing.
Yeah.
But it's nice to hear that someone that's just in the company you don't have to do this, and you're just out here just like, hey, we need to get some Instagram for this role.
I feel like anime is honestly the perfect place to do it. Because it comes with an audience that's ready for it. And it's only, again, the vocal minority who are going to complain about it. Granted, they do have some power in that regard because they can get really loud, and we don't want, negative feedback. But I think I know the company is committed to expanding diversity, so that if someone's complaint about a dub was that the lead is a Black actor, it'd be like, GTFO, man, I don't care. Your opinion can leave. But the other reason I think anime is a great place for this type of diversity in acting is because, generally speaking, most shows are like about Japanese school kids. And it is, and I don't mean this in a negative way, it's a more homogenized society there. So the group of school kids, they're all, I don't want to say the same, because that's a whole other thing. I'm not trying to say that Asian people are all the same, or all Japanese.
You get that on recording,
guys?
Right. And we got her.
I don't mean that. No, I don't mean like
I know
that,
what you mean, though. Like you can't even be standout. Your classmates you have to look the same. You can't have different hair.
Yeah, and your classmates are by and large going to be Japanese. So there may be some that are mixed race. But here in America, you're going to get all kinds of kids that you're going to school with. So when we're dubbing something, we're not just putting it into English. What we're actually doing, the term is localizing it. We are making the show that's made for another culture into something that can be digested by our culture. So our schools are not homogenous. So why should our depiction of a bunch of school kids all sound like white kids when a classroom is not full of all white kids? I mean, it is some places, sure, it definitely is some places, but in some places a classroom is all black kids, all brown kids, no white kids at all. So, like, what can we do to kind of show, like, in a perfect world, right? This is what it would be, and it's not just the token black character, the token Asian character, but it's just the perfect blend, the perfect blend. That's kind of what I'm going for. And third reason why anime is great, if it isn't set in a school or something like that in Japan, it's like off in space with aliens and crazy things that aren't necessarily based in any particular culture. So why not let them sound like anything at all? Why
limit ourselves like this?
Yeah. We got into it. It's funny because I always got in that conversation with Dragon Ball where they're like, why aren't these, like, I remember the movie came out. The movie wasn't fantastic by any means, whatever, it's fine. The live action.
I'm like,
Dragon Ball. Okay, I was like that one that just came out. That's a whole talk right there. Okay.
I'm trying to watch the one that came out like this week, but the Dragon
Ball.
Talking
about the live action, like Evolution.
I'm talking about Evolution as being not that great. The one that's the Gohan movie.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah, and I remember people were just really upset, and like the very first comments were always just like, "Why isn't Goku Asian?" I'm like, their planet doesn't even have an Asia on it. Like, we've seen the map of that planet. They don't even have, like, there's no America. Like, the continents aren't the same. He's from space. I'm like, are we really? It doesn't have to be Asian.
He is a Saiyan.
Right.
I was like, guys, like, this is a little weird that we're like really putting him in a box right now.
Yeah, limiting ourselves like that, right?
Yeah, but it also happened to me on Twitter, and because Gazo's fantastic. He's like, hey, you gotta get on Twitter, gotta get comfortable on there. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. So I get on Twitter, and my very first day on Twitter, someone made a comment. Like, a guy who's a friend of mine made a comment. It's about Naruto. I'm not sure how familiar you are with the series altogether, but the Rakage's village is predominantly colored people. And someone said, they're like, well, I just finally have some African Americans in these anime. And I'm like, well, Naruto doesn't really have Africa. These aren't really African Americans. And this dude got so mad, and it started this whole, like, this post went from like 12 likes to like 100 something in like a couple minutes. And I was like, oh my God. And I had to keep responding, and I got stuck into that whole thing where you're talking to people like, no, actually. I'm so mad.
Welcome to the internet, right?
I get what you're saying, though. Like, I think that is humorous. What you're getting at is pretty
ruined
funny.
My day. I hate Twitter.
There's no Africa in Naruto.
That's hilarious.
It turned into this whole debate. Like, are you saying they're not black? Like, and I was like, well, race isn't really. And it turned into this whole thing. And I was like, oh no.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but anyway, I digress. Let's move along.
I guess, like one of my, last questions for now, is like, what have been some of your favorite titles to be a part of or work on, or I guess just overall career tenure.
Well, a very recent one that I love a lot is The Ranking of Kings. I was the director of Ranking of Kings.
Also, I loved your posts with that. I loved the dub with that. About to get me geeking out about it. Okay.
Oh man, I really love Ranking of Kings. I'm like looking around the room. I need to start making a list. It's gotten to the point where I can't remember everything that I've directed.
Especially if it's every season, every quarter,
season is
and then
2
home
shows,
videos.
So that's like 8 shows a year. 2, 4, 6, 8. Yeah, 8 shows every year. Plus any movies or random things I get to work on in between. Radiant is another big top of the lister for me, and I think you watched. No, you didn't watch that.
Yeah, I read.
You
I read the manga and I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah, but when we were working on it, I was like, Godswill, you have to watch this show. So you can get around to watching it. I'll let you watch it on your own time.
Dope.
But that
after
one
October
is,
when everything comes out.
Yeah, that is another favorite of mine. Also, probably because of the strides we made in diversity with that show. But that show has tons of room for it. And because you've read the manga, but the manga being written by a French author and not a Japanese person has that non-homogenous, viewpoint. And he's from an immigrant family as well. So, and the story is really kind of about that, how outsiders are ostracized and the dangers of racism and classism and all of those things.
From the get. Oh, yeah. There's a good one.
From the word go. Absolutely. And so it was very important to me that all of the major characters, I cast myself in it because I just loved the story so much. And I have like this Little Mermaid complex where if there's a character with like red hair and blue eyes, I'm like, I have red hair and blue eyes. I should play them. I cast myself as Melly, but I had like a brand new actor, Chris Ramirez, in the lead role of Seth, and then he's Mexican American, and Sean Gann is the other lead. He's Filipino American. When it got to season 2, Ali Mins, who's African American. It was just a big mix, and the story they actually deal with straight up immigration. Like it isn't even. There's a whole plot that is just anti-immigrant. So we dealt with that. There's so much to dig into there. And I also loved working on it because the author was French and he spoke English. I could reach out to him. So anytime I had questions, I made friends with him on Instagram, and I could just direct message him when I'm like, so what did you mean by this? What culture were you digging into when you did this thing? And he would say, oh, it's based on this, so that I could find like the correct pronunciations, because he was like all over the map. Like season 2, the characters they have like Celtic names and Welsh names, even though I put all Black actors in those roles, but the names of the characters are based on like very like white mythological figures. But I'm like, no. Y'all are gonna be
Hamilton,
in it.
Let's go.
It's gonna be great. But like, I could just go like, Tony, what is this? I can't tell from the anime. What is this? And he'd be like, he would point me in the right direction. So I love collaboration, and I've never ever had a direct line like that to someone. And he himself is such a lover of manga and anime stories, and along the way, in God's will, because you've read not just Radiant, but other things that he'll pay homages to, like Naruto and Bleach and One Piece and Dragon Ball. Just in his art and in random characters that he'll create, you can see like, oh, that's a little bit of this character and a little bit of this character, and then something brand new. So like I wanted to honor that. So we got to a character. Sorry, I'm just rambling now.
You're good.
No. This is absolutely love to hear this. I actually did want to hear like more about Radiant, personally. So I did scratch my itch.
Yeah, when we got to the character, I don't know if you've read this far. I can't even remember the character's dang name, but it's a suit of armor that has like a lot of spirits of knights from the past that are inside it. So one suit with tons of voices. And so I went and got like all of the big heavy hitters from shonen anime that Funimation had done over the years and threw them in there. So there's Justin Cook's in there, who's Yusuke Urameshi. Sean Schemmel is in there, who's Goku. Sabat is in there, who's Vegeta and everybody in the world, and All Might and all of that. Yeah. Colleen is in there. She's not doing the Luffy voice, but like Colleen is in there. I think Damon Mills is in there, who's now the voice of Frieza. Aaron Dismuke is in there. He's like, oh, I'm a suit of armor again. So just all of these, I wanted to do that, like, and it was a big deal. We posted it like on Instagram or Twitter or both when it happened, to be like, here's a gift for you, Tony. Thank you for your story. And he was like, I cannot believe this is happening. And like, he didn't watch those shows in English. I mean, maybe he did, but still, like, he recognized that what we were up to, and I was so,
yeah, that's dope.
Yeah,
that's
level,
really cool. Honestly. Yeah, who can say like, oh yeah, I have all the, like all the top greats like in my show. That's dope.
All playing one character. So I'm trying to. So the question was big shows that I care a lot about. So like Ranking of Kings, Radiant, Fruits Basket, of course, which we could talk about forever. So let's not. So that's a big one.
I need to get back to it. I love season 1, but then I was worried I would get like super hurt, so I didn't watch Onward. But that's gonna be my goal now, to actually finish it up.
Yeah, and there's a movie too, so that can wrap it up fully, which is good. Fruits Basket is great, and I spent a long time with it. There's so many. I feel so blessed to have worked on shows that I really, really adored. I like the stories. I love the cast. I took over the Free franchise and loved that way more than I thought I would. The swimming show Free. So I've got to tell some great stories. I hope I get to keep telling them.
That's awesome. That's beautiful.
I mean, I think it's a big deal too. I know when we met Justin Cook, God knows how appreciative I was to him, because Yusuke Urameshi, he was one of my favorite characters as a kid. He's still one of my favorite characters to this day.
Yeah,
but as a kid, it was just like seeing a cool it's a cool guy figure that just like he's checking all the boxes for you. Like, I want to be that cool to my friends. You know what I mean? And it's like, you're telling stories, especially when kids get to watch this, like your casting and even your voice sometimes is going to be something that plays in their head forever. Like, they know you as this person. And I think sometimes it's slept on how big of a deal that is. Like, you're impacting a lot of people. You're telling a story that no one's heard before, but you're the storyteller, essentially. The voice actors you cast are that important. So, I mean, I appreciate you like a ton. Winry was one of those that I think everyone knows, especially to this day. Brotherhood is like one of the most renowned anime on the planet. I guess. Yeah,
you can't touch it, man. It's so, when people come through the line and they'll say like, Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood is my first anime, I'm like, yeah, and that's, everything pales in comparison now. I bet you're trying really hard to find something
they
that's
reached that high again.
Good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just
low key sometimes.
Yeah.
Low key sometimes. I mean, I'm right there with everybody. Like, I rewatched it during the pandemic, and it hit so hard. Actually, probably even harder. Seeing it in a more modern era, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
That first scene always gets me there. Oh, go ahead.
As we age, different aspects of the story mean different things for the places that we are in life. I mean, if you see Fullmetal Alchemist when you're first 13 or 14, the person you're going to relate to is probably Edward or Alphonse. But as you get older, it'll be like, oh my gosh, I totally understand. Mustang's dilemma.
Colonel Mustang or something,
now,
right? Yeah.
Or, this, or even a villain,
right?
Or
I
show
understand why they would sacrifice all the people now.
I get it.
Scar was onto something,
right?
No.
You know, the
wrath. All the 3 years, you guys.
Maybe just get rid of everybody.
Oh no!
I mean,
one singularity. Why not, right?
I'm not gonna talk too much on it, but I remember I was bothered because here's the thing, and I have to admit, this is one of my cardinal sins being an anime industry. I don't tell anybody, but I'm gonna say it live right now.
I'm interested.
I never actually finished Brotherhood. Now I say this. Hold on. I say this. I watched the first one. Brotherhood came out, and then one of my friends spoiled the ending for me. Like
it's still worth it. Look, it's still worth it.
I saw the whole ending.
Oh, you saw it. Oh,
I watched the last episode. He was playing. This is and I was like, wait, this is the plot twist? Yeah, man. I was like, why would you do that? And I never had the drive to watch it.
You should. There's so many other characters.
I think it's still worth it.
And like parts of the world, like the world of Full Metal that they go to, that it is there's a whole group of people, multiple groups of people that aren't even in the original.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's worth it. Like,
just for safety purposes, Godzo, if you can take my name and Twitter off of this.
Joshua Akwai has not finished Fullmetal Alchemist Brother. Is he really a weeb? I don't believe it.
Met him at a convention. Worst guy ever.
No.
Yes.
Never.
No. Definitely still watch it. Thank you, Caitlin. This has been such a blast. Do you have anything else you want to ask Caitlin, Josh? Because, I mean, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but definitely I've had a blast, like, hearing about all this, like, just your processes, how you got into all this. Hearing about, like, how you really brought in your life experiences into this, and you're making it better. Like, I'm really happy that you're still killing it.
Thank you for saying so.
Absolutely. No, I like it's something I truly 100% believe. That's why like I'm really happy that we get to talk with you. You know, like I was like, I don't know if we can, but I'm really happy that we can.
I didn't give away any company secrets. It's all good.
Hey, no, this is perfect. This is totally perfect.
Yeah, no, I definitely had questions throughout the whole thing, but it's one of those things where I definitely want you to talk because like you had a ton to say. I know we had a minute of time to try to capture most of your life in like a 2-hour span.
Right.
So I'm cool with just like I took a lot of today. I'm okay. I feel great.
Oh, good.
It's nice meeting you.
Yeah. If you want to have me back anytime, this has been fun. We can hit all your other questions. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And now that we got like the introduction part out of the way, boom, next time we're getting into the meat and potatoes.
We'll talk about the weeds. We'll talk MTV 2000s. How did you feel about it? We'll talk about all that
stuff. Yes.
Cool, guys. Well, thank you so much for having me. This has been really nice.
Absolutely. Where can people find you, by the way?
You can
if
find
you want people to find you.
Oh, for sure. Please come to my Instagram because it needs some love, and I like it better than Twitter. But you can find me on both of those. I am at Caitlin's Voice. I do have a Facebook, but I never use it, and it just posts everything from my Twitter to it. So don't bother with that. But Instagram and Twitter at Caitlin's Voice.
Dope. We'll be posting it, making some clips, all that, the whole shebang. Yeah. This was a wonderful time. I'm also glad I just got to hear about the legend in totality. I had known about some things, but it was really cool to hear about all these things.
Thanks. It was fun to tell.
Cool. Thank you. Definitely got to talk to you some more. Thank you, everybody listening all the way through. Don't forget to like and share the podcast. Definitely blow this thing up. We're almost to episode 100. This is episode 94 right here. Yeah. So thank you. And I was like, I want someone big, to sort of be on the podcast as we're getting back to it after 3 months. Golly. So Thank you so much for gracing us, and it was a pleasure. Anything you want to say, Josh?
No, I mean, this is fantastic.
Dope.
Of course, standard. More questions to come, but for now, I'm cool ending here. We'll come back to it.
Dope. As always, everybody, stay dope, yo. Peace.
Peace.